There's a kind of love that doesn't announce itself. No grand speeches, no dramatic confessions, just quiet moments, small gestures, subtle actions that speak louder than any "I love you" ever could. You might be wondering, how do I know if he truly feels something, even if he hasn't said it? Well, here's the truth. When you become a man's emotional soft spot, his quiet weakness, everything about how he behaves around you changes. Not with words, but with silence. He watches you when you're not looking. He remembers things you forgot you even said. His mood shifts when yours does. He protects you without asking. He gives up things just to make time. For you, this isn't about obsession. It's not about control. It's about genuine, unspoken care, the kind that slips into everyday moments and wraps itself around you softly, invisibly. In this video, we'll reveal 15 silent ways a man acts when you've become his biggest emotional weakness. From the way his eyes light up the second you walk in, to how his body language changes when someone else gets too close. You will begin to notice what was always there, hidden in plain sight. This isn't just relationship advice. It's a reflection of something real, the kind of love that doesn't need to be shouted, because it's already being shown. So if you've ever felt like he cares, but wasn't sure how to read the signs, stay with us. By the end of this video, you'll see the truth clearly. Not in what he says, but in what is always done. 1. He always looks at you when he thinks you're not watching. That one small gesture says so much more than words ever could. When a man sees you as his biggest weakness, he can't help but steal glances at you. Not to be creepy or obsessive, but because you simply draw his attention like a magnet. He might be in the middle of a conversation, laughing with friends, or even focused on something important. But the second you're in the room, his eyes naturally find you. And not in a showy or dramatic way. Quietly, subtly, silently. He watches your expressions, the way you laugh, how you move, what you're wearing that day. He notices the little things, the kind of things most people miss. Maybe it's the way you tuck your hair behind your ear or how you bite your lip when you're deep in thought. To him, these details aren't small. They're everything. Watching you becomes his way of feeling close, even if he doesn't have the words or courage to say it out loud. Sometimes, he looks away quickly when you catch him. Other times, he holds your gaze for just a second longer than necessary, hoping you felt something too. It's not about control, or lust, or even confidence. It's about quiet admiration, a kind of softness that says, "You affect me more than I can explain." And the most beautiful part is not looking for attention. He's not trying to make you fall for him. He's simply caught up in the way you exist. And in that silence, that unspoken glance, he's already said more than love letters ever could. Because when a man looks at you like that, when he thinks you don't see it, that's when it's real. 2. His mood changes instantly based on how you're feeling. When a man truly sees you as his biggest weakness, your emotions become deeply tied to his own. He may not say much, but if you're sad, he goes quiet. If you're happy, he lights up. It's not forced, it's instinctual. Your energy affects him, whether he wants it to or not. Even if you try to hide how you feel, he picks up on it. A shift in your tone, a look in your eyes, or a slight pause in your words is all it takes for him to notice. And suddenly, without meaning to, his own mood begins to mirror yours. If you're upset, he becomes unsettled. You may notice him become more gentle, more cautious with his words. He might try to make you smile, even in small, silly ways, just to lift the weight off your shoulders. And if he can't fix it, he carries the heaviness with you. On the flip side, when you're laughing or feeling good, his whole demeanor shifts. He becomes more relaxed, more confident, more alive. This kind of emotional sensitivity isn't weakness. It's connection. Deep down, he's emotionally tuned into you, not because he's trying to control you, but because he genuinely cares. It's a quiet form of empathy. He feels your emotional weather like his own, and whether he says it out loud or not, he wants to be your shelter when the skies turn gray. You might not even notice it at first, but he does. And that's the power of silent love. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it simply responds. Without needing anything in return, his heart reacts to yours. That's how you know you matter more than you realize. 3. He remembers small details you barely mention once. When a man quietly holds you close to his heart, he doesn't just hear your words, he absorbs them. Even the ones you barely said. Maybe you mentioned your favorite childhood snack in passing, or casually noted a book you loved years ago. Maybe you said you don't like cold weather, or that your mom calls you a certain nickname. While most people would forget these things within seconds, he doesn't. He stores them, gently, intentionally, like treasures. Why? Because when someone is your weakness, everything they say feels important. Even the little things. Especially the little things. Remembering those details becomes his way of saying, I was listening. You matter. And it's never loud. He won't announce it or make a big gesture. He might just show up one day with your favorite candy bar. Or bring up something you mentioned weeks ago, word for word. And in that moment, you'll realize he was paying attention the whole time. It's not about grand romantic gestures. It's about quiet care. He wants to understand your world, your memories, your preferences, even the ones you don't talk about often. And when you see those tiny reflections of yourself in his actions, it feels like being seen in a way no one else has ever done before. This kind of attentiveness can't be faked. It's not something he does for everyone. He doesn't study everyone's life like this. He does it for you. Because in the quiet corners of his mind, you've taken up space, and he doesn't want to let anything about you slip away. That's when you know you're not just someone he likes. You're someone he remembers, deeply, truly, and without trying. 4. He goes quiet when you're upset, as if he feels it too. There's a certain kind of silence that says more than any words ever could. When a man sees you as his biggest weakness, he doesn't just notice when you're upset. He feels it. Your emotions settle into the room like a storm cloud, and suddenly, his laughter fades, his voice softens, and he goes quiet. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares so much that your pain feels personal. He may not always know what to say. He might not rush to fix things. But his silence isn't distance. It's presence. It's his heart slowing down to match yours. His spirit leaning in closer without making a sound. His watching you, reading you, trying to understand where it hurts. Not so he can solve it, but so he can carry it with you. You'll see it in the way he looks at you differently. In the way his body becomes still, as if even his movements might disrupt your fragile moment. He doesn't try to change the subject. He doesn't minimize what you're feeling. He just becomes a quiet echo of your emotion. Because in his world, your pain becomes his, too. And sometimes, that silence is his way of offering space. Space for you to breathe. Space for you to feel. Because when a man deeply cares, he doesn't always try to speak over your sadness. Instead, he sits beside it, gently, patiently, without forcing a smile, without needing to be the hero. It's a soft kind of support. The kind that whispers, I'm here, I see you, and I'm not going anywhere. And even though he may say nothing at all, that quiet is louder than 1,000 empty promises. 5. He offers help without you needing to ask. When a man truly cares, when you've quietly become his soft spot, his weakness, he doesn't wait to be needed. He notices your struggle before you even speak it. You won't have to say, can you help me with this, or I'm overwhelmed. He senses it. He's tuned into your energy, your patterns, your little sighs, and the weight you try to hide in your shoulders. And so, without any announcement, he steps in. Maybe he picks up something you dropped. Maybe he sends you a text saying, don't worry, I already handled it. Maybe he clears your schedule, walks you to your car, or brings you something he knew you were running low on. These aren't random favors. They're quiet acts of care. Acts that say, you don't have to carry everything alone. The beauty of it is that he doesn't expect praise. He doesn't help for attention or reward. He helps because your well-being matters to him, deeply, instinctively. It's not dramatic or flashy. It's the kind of support that's almost invisible. Until one day you look back and realize how much easier your days became just because he was quietly there. You might not even realize how much is done, how many little fires is put out without making a sound. But that's how silent love works. It doesn't make noise. It simply moves. And when a man sees you as his heart center, helping you isn't a chore. It's his way of being close. His way of loving without demanding. His way of saying, your peace matters to me more than you know. And when you feel that kind of support, unasked, unspoken, unconditional, you'll know you're not just in his thoughts, you're in his heart. 6. He gets nervous around you, even if he's confident with others. He might be the most self-assured man in the room, smooth with his words, calm under pressure, effortlessly charming around anyone else. But when you're near, something shifts. His hands fidget. His laugh changes. He stumbles on words he normally speaks with ease. And suddenly, the man who always seems in control becomes a little softer, a little more unsure, because you matter more than anyone else ever did. This nervousness isn't weakness. It's reverence. When a man sees you as someone truly special, someone who could change his world, he can't help but feel the weight of it. He overthinks his words. He questions if he said the right thing. He tries too hard not to try too hard. Because around you, everything feels real. You might notice he fixes his shirt more often, checks his phone even when there's no message, or avoids holding eye contact for too long. His usual confidence doesn't disappear. It just fades under the quiet pressure of wanting to be enough for you. He doesn't want to mess it up. And even though he seems fearless with others around you, he's careful, not because he's hiding anything, but because you've already touched something deeper in him. This kind of nervousness is beautiful. It's a sign that he doesn't take you lightly. He's not trying to impress you with bravado. He's trying to be sincere, to be real. And sometimes, that awkwardness, that stammer, that slight hesitation, it says more than confidence ever could. Because when a man's heart is truly invested, the stakes feel higher. You're not just another conversation. You're the one he can't get wrong. 7. He avoids talking about other women when you're around. When a man sees you as someone truly special, someone who holds a quiet power over him, he becomes instinctively careful with how he speaks around you, especially when it comes to other women. He might talk freely around his friends, joke casually, or share harmless stories with others. But the moment you're in the room, that changes. You'll notice he avoids mentioning other women, even if there's nothing to hide. Why? Because your presence shifts his priorities. He's not trying to play games or hide something. He just doesn't want to talk about anyone else. It feels wrong, disrespectful, even, to speak of past flings, crushes, or pretty faces when the only one on his mind is you. It's a quiet kind of loyalty that isn't about commitment yet, but about intention. His silence around other women isn't emptiness. It's focus. You might catch it in a moment when someone brings up another girl and he glances at you before answering, or chooses not to say anything at all. Not because he's scared of you, but because he doesn't want to risk you thinking you're not enough. His silence says, "Why would I talk about someone else when you're the only one I want to notice?" And maybe he doesn't even realize he's doing it. But that's the truth about genuine affection. It changes your behavior without forcing it. He wants to protect the space between you. He wants you to feel seen, not compared. Important, not optional. In a world full of noise and distractions, his silence on this topic speaks volumes. You're the only one he wants to focus on. 8. He checks in on you more often than anyone else. When you become someone's quiet weakness, he can't help but keep tabs on how you're doing, not in a controlling way, but in a caring, consistent, gentle way. You might not notice it at first. A short message, a casual, "Did you get home okay?" Or a thoughtful, "Just checking in. How's your day going?" But over time, you'll realize something. No one checks on you as often as he does. No one notices your silences the way he does. It's not about quantity, it's about intention. He's not texting out of boredom or politeness. He's reaching out because his mind circles back to you over and over, quietly, naturally. If he knows you've had a tough meeting, he'll remember. If you mentioned a family issue, he'll follow up. If you seem off, even slightly, he'll sense it and gently ask if you're okay. He doesn't always say much. Sometimes it's just a simple message or an emoji. But it's timed perfectly, right when you needed someone to check in, right when you were starting to feel invisible. And there he is, not demanding anything, not offering shallow comfort, just there. This kind of attention can't be faked. He isn't doing it for credit. He doesn't tell others as being a good guy. He's just drawn to you, invested in you, even in the smallest, most unspoken ways. And in a world where most people forget the things you say, he remembers. In a world where people drift in and out, he stays close, quietly, because to him, checking in on you isn't a duty. It's a reflex. And that's when you know. You're not just on his mind. You live there. 9. His eyes light up the second you enter the room. There's a kind of reaction you can't fake, and you'll see it in his eyes before you hear a single word. Maybe the room is full of people. Maybe he's mid-conversation, mid-laugh, mid-thought. But the second you walk in, something changes. His gaze softens. His expression brightens. His whole energy shifts, as if just your presence makes everything a little lighter. It's subtle, but unmistakable. His eyes search for you even if he wasn't expecting to see you. He doesn't force a smile. It just appears. That quiet spark, that tiny flicker of joy, isn't planned. It's instinct. Because when you're someone he deeply cares about, someone who holds space in his heart, your presence brings him calm, comfort, and a kind of happiness he doesn't feel with anyone else. It's not about how you look that day or what you're wearing. It's about the way you make him feel simply by existing nearby. And sometimes, he won't even come over right away. He'll just watch for a moment, soaking you in, like someone taking a breath after being underwater. Others may not notice, but you will. And once you recognize that light in his eyes, that way he reacts to you and only you, it's hard to ignore. Because eyes don't lie. They don't know how. Even if he hasn't told you how he feels, even if he keeps his words guarded, his eyes will always betray his truth. And that truth is simple. You don't just enter the room. You change it for him. 10. He tries to hide jealousy, but his body language gives him away. He may play it cool on the surface, smiling, nodding, acting unbothered. But when a man truly feels something for you, his body tells the truth before his words ever do. Especially when someone else gets a little too close. Maybe it's a guy friend who makes you laugh. Maybe it's a compliment you receive from someone passing by. Whatever it is, you'll notice it. A flicker in his eyes, a slight shift in his posture, a pause that wasn't there before. He won't say he's jealous. He might not even admit it to himself. But his body will react without permission. Maybe his jaw tightens. Maybe he crosses his arms. Maybe he starts fidgeting, or suddenly finds a reason to be closer to you, as if to quietly re-establish his place. His voice might drop just a little, or he'll go quiet altogether. And in those moments, he's not trying to control you. He's just feeling something he can't fully hide. He cares. Jealousy, when quiet and unspoken, often comes from fear, not of you doing something wrong, but of losing you to someone else. It's not possessive. It's protective. It's that ache of realizing how much space you take up in his heart, and how vulnerable that makes him feel. And so, he tries to act normal, tries to pretend he's unfazed. But his body, it always betrays him. Because when a man sees you as his greatest weakness, the idea of someone else getting close, it doesn't sit easy. He won't say a word, but his silence will speak. And his stillness, it will say exactly what he's too proud to admit. You're not his yet, but he already feels like you are. 11. He listens, even when you're just rambling. You're not telling a grand story. You're not making a point. Maybe you're just talking about your day, the annoying email, the random thing your neighbor did, what you saw on the way home. And somehow, he's still listening. Fully, quietly, without interrupting, without zoning out, without checking his phone. When a man sees you as someone who truly matters, someone he can't help but care about, your words matter, too. Even the ones that trail off. Even the ones you think are pointless. Because to him, it's not about what you're saying, it's about you saying it. The sound of your voice, the way your eyes light up when you speak, the pauses, the laughter, the way you move your hands when you're passionate about something silly. He watches it all, absorbs it all, because to him, every piece of you is worth noticing. You might say, "Sorry, I'm rambling." But he won't stop you. He'll just smile, lean in, and say, "Go on." Because listening, truly listening, is his way of being present, of showing you that even in the ordinary, he sees something extraordinary. He's not waiting for you to finish so he can talk. He's not pretending to care. He's just there, hearing you fully, without judgment or impatience. That kind of listening is rare. It's quiet, it's intimate, and it's powerful. Because in a world where most people only half hear you, a man who listens to your rambles is a man who's already holding space for you in his heart. And you'll feel it, not in what he says, but in how he hears you. You speak, he listens, and somehow, that's more romantic than any love song. 12. He finds excuses to stay close or extend conversations. When a man sees you as someone who quietly owns his attention, he doesn't want the moment to end, even if he doesn't know how to say it. So he stretches time in small, almost unnoticeable ways. Maybe you've already said goodbye, but he brings up one more question. Maybe the conversation fades, but he lingers, smiling, shifting his weight, finding any reason to stay just a few seconds longer. He might offer to walk you to your car, even if it's just a few steps. He'll comment on something completely random, just to keep the exchange going. You might be closing your laptop or reaching for the door, and suddenly he's asking, "By the way, did you hear about?" Even if he already knows the answer. It's not about the topic. It's about the time, the closeness, you. And it doesn't stop at conversation. In group settings, he'll find a spot near you, not too obvious, but close enough to feel your presence. If you're cooking, he's suddenly helping. If you're walking, he matches your pace. He doesn't make a scene. He doesn't push. He simply stays longer than he needs to, longer than anyone else. This quiet persistence isn't about flirting. It's about feeling. And when someone means that much to you, you don't walk away easily, not even from a 5-minute chat. Because every extra second feels like a gift. Every pause, a chance to learn something new. Every silence, a comfort. So when you notice him lingering, when the goodbyes never quite feel final, understand what he's really saying without saying it. I'm not ready to leave your space. Because being near you feels like the closest thing to peace I've known in a while. 18. He notices changes in your tone, mood, or behavior instantly. You don't have to cry, complain, or spell it out. You don't even have to say a word. If something's off, he knows immediately. Maybe your smile doesn't reach your eyes today. Maybe your reply came a little too fast or too short. Maybe you're quieter than usual, or your laugh feels a little forced. No matter how subtle the change is, he feels it. He doesn't need a script. He doesn't need proof. When a man truly sees you, when you've become his emotional soft spot, he becomes instinctively in tune with your energy. Your happiness lifts him. Your sadness slows him down. He may not always know what's wrong, but he'll know something is, and that alone sets him apart from everyone else. You'll notice how quickly he asks, "Are you okay?" How softly he says, "You seem a little off today." How gently he watches, trying to understand what you haven't said out loud. It's not dramatic. It's not invasive. It's just present. Most people notice only what you show. He notices what you hide. And he doesn't rush you to explain. He simply creates space, a safer place, for you to be real. Because your peace matters to him, and your discomfort unsettles something in him. This level of awareness doesn't come from effort. It comes from care. He pays attention because he wants to. Because somewhere along the way, your emotions became tied to his. And when someone sees you that clearly, beyond the surface, beyond the smile, it's not just affection. It's quiet devotion. The kind that says, even in your silence, I hear you. Even in your calm, I feel the storm. 14. He gives up things just to make time for you. He may never say it out loud, but his choices speak volumes. When a man truly feels something for you, when you've quietly become his priority, he starts rearranging his world just to make space for you in it. Plans get canceled. Routines shift. Invitations are turned down. Not because he's losing himself, but because you matter more. Maybe he skips a game night with his friends to see you for just an hour. Maybe he moves meetings, shifts schedules, or stays up late even after a long day, just to hear about yours. These sacrifices are quiet, unannounced. You might never know what he gave up, but he knows, and he does it willingly. He doesn't keep score. He doesn't throw it in your face. To him, making time for you isn't an inconvenience. It's a choice he's happy to make. Because being near you, hearing your voice, or simply sharing a few minutes together, that's worth more than whatever else he could be doing. And the most telling part, he doesn't just show up when it's convenient. He shows up when it's hard, when he's tired, when he's busy, when he could easily say no, but chooses not to. That's how you know it's real. Anyone can be present when it's easy, but when he quietly shifts his own priorities for your sake, he's saying something deeper. You're not a part of my day. You're the reason I want to make time at all. Because when a man sees you as someone who touches his soul, your presence isn't just welcome. It's worth every quiet sacrifice he makes, whether you see it or not. 15. He gets protective, gently, silently, instinctively. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't act out or try to prove anything. But when a man truly cares, when you've unknowingly become his heart's softest spot, his protective side comes out in the quietest ways. It's not loud or controlling. It's calm, constant, and almost invisible unless you're paying attention. He walks on the side of traffic when you're together. He notices when someone makes you uncomfortable and steps closer, subtly shifting the space around you. If you're cold, he offers his jacket without hesitation. If you're overwhelmed, he shields you from the noise, the pressure, the expectations, even if it's just by being quietly present. And sometimes, he doesn't even say anything at all. He just senses when something isn't right. Maybe it's a bad vibe, a stressful moment, or someone crossing a line. His body reacts before his mind does. He becomes alert, grounded, ready to step in if needed. But he never does it to impress. He does it because you matter. He doesn't speak for you. He stands beside you. He doesn't try to fight your battles. He makes sure you don't have to fight them alone. And in his silence, there's a promise. You're safe here. The world may not notice these subtle moves, but you will. You'll feel it in the way he watches over you without hovering, in the way he cares without demanding, in the way he makes sure you're okay before you even realize you needed the comfort. Because when a man gets protective without being asked, without needing credit, without making it about himself, that's not ego. That's love, pure, grounded, and deeply instinctive.